surprise, people. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a little bit of time. I'm going to do some more scrapping out of some bits and pieces after this, but I want to show how the singles add up off this stuff, and I'm going to harvest some of the nice copper bearing goodies, some of the MOSFETs, etc., and some of the unusual components, but I'm going to do that now. So basically, I put out a thing to see if there were any questions and if anyone wanted to ask me anything. So I thought the first part of this video can be a bit of a Q&A session while I'm doing some of this sort of more mundane micro scrapping. It's probably not the most interesting to watch, but you know, it is. It's what I do, and it's how I get the goodies. So, and then some really nice cherry picking off some yummy boards, and then back to another bit of sort of Q&A. So, yeah. So I've had a couple of emails so far. I didn't give too much notice, but yeah, I've had a couple of emails. So one is actually a question that I get asked a lot of the time, and that is, how did I get into scrapping? Which, yeah, I can see why people want to know that. I'm not your stereotypical scrapper, I guess. It's not as common to have female scrappers as well, so I think that intrigues quite a lot of people. And some of you will know this story anyway, but basically, when I was younger, I remember looking at things and thinking, how does that work? How on earth? And the thing that really blew my mind was the television. I just couldn't get my head around how a television worked, basically, and what was in there to create that moving picture. It just really fascinated me. And like many people in my family, at many opportunities I get, I would take things to pieces and typically not to be able to put them back together again. But you know, not actually as bad as my brother, who would take apart things that people were still using and cherished, like my sister's magic mirror. He took that apart and couldn't put it back together, and it caused chaos. But anyway, yeah, so any old bits and pieces I could get my hands on from quite a young age, I would be really interested in what was in that. The thing that blew my mind the most, and actually I have to say still does, is the internet and faxes going through a phone line. Just it's still it is still incredible. It really is. So yeah, anyway, so I did that, but you know, and I did bits and pieces, and I collected bits, and I made resin creations years ago. But I made resin creations out of all sorts of things years ago, like, you know, pressed or dried flowers, or any little thing that I just thought, that's pretty, or that's sensory. I can fiddle with that, I can play with that, that looks great. And then my husband got me into watching all sorts of engineering stuff, you know, like massive engineering machines, and you know, the sort of stuff that I wouldn't necessarily have. I'd watch the odd thing, but wouldn't dedicate a lot of time to it. And then that kind of moved into metal casting. I've always been interested in recycling, so I've always watched recycling videos, you know, from a teenage years, and the plants and the big factories, and that's always interested me. And then yes, we start. So then we found e-waste Ben through watching metal casting and pouring and stacking. And oh my goodness, when I saw the scrapping videos and the street scrapping, I was just hooked instantly and adored it. And we watched everything, absolutely everything. And then it just created this, I don't know, this spark in me. And I thought, you know what, I could definitely do this on a bigger scale than what I was doing. And it went from there. And I thought, everyone's always told me that I have a unique personality. And that I'm, I don't know. I remember at primary school, I did a little talent show thing, and it was cringe beyond belief. We were on a residential trip, and I had a lot more confidence as a kid than I, perhaps do as an adult. But I will never forget. I can't even remember what we did in this little show, but it was some comedy act or something. I think I was only about 8 or 9, and the headmaster pulled me aside afterwards, and he said, you need to have some sort of career entertaining people, because you've got a real, I can't remember what he said, you're really engaging or something like that, and with your personality, we like to, you're entertaining, something like that. And I was sort of, as a kid, I was blown away by that, and I thought, God, no, I couldn't imagine that. But like, how could I do it? But also, I am connecting with people, with an audience as such, but more than that, a community. And this community means everything to me. It's very difficult to describe without sounding, a bit over the top. But anyone who's in this community, I think, will understand me. And it's that there is a sense of kind of kinship here, and like a family, another type of family, and support, and just there's something about sharing something that you love that's maybe not the mainstream, with other people who also love doing that same thing. So this kind of became my outlet and my enjoyment, hobby, and then just this connection that I've got with everybody. And also, not only that, allowing my personality out, because I get it. I am a bit nuts, but in a good way. And I like to call it quirky. It's just me. That's just my sense of humour and me being me. And it's really lovely to find a place where I can just naturally be who I am and do my crazy and papa and singing a scrapyard song and just really enjoying what I'm doing. And we all know that sometimes, life is hard. Life isn't easy, and there is a great sense of community here that does see a lot of us through a lot of stuff sometimes. And, we sometimes have to dip in and out of it, and that's true. That happens. But it's always here, and everybody knows that, should somebody have to go off for a while, we're all here for when they return. And that's another lovely thing about, YouTube and this community, and communities crossing over as well. It's not just one community. I'm in a few different places, and I love that, like some of the coin community or the small engines, recycling different bits and bobs, and some other kind of entertainment stuff. That sounded dodgy. Nothing dodgy, I promise. And it's just nice to, for us all to do that and come across. So that was one of the questions. Okay, so I had another question from Nick Labib. I think it's pronounced Labib. I'm really sorry if I've mispronounced that. And his question was, why do I always wear leopard print? Well, I don't really know the answer to that question, other than I really like it. Yeah, I don't know what it is. When I was younger, tiger print was actually the thing, and we were a lot more able to get tiger print stuff. So I had a fantastic pair of tiger print trousers, and oh my goodness, if I could get some of those again, I really would. But I don't know. I think maybe you could look into the deep psychology of it if you like, and think, is it my animalistic side? I don't know. I just really like it, and I have quite a few different leopard print. There's usually some form of leopard print on me, any stage in time. And in fact, while I'm actually recording this, I'm sitting here in my leopard print pajamas. So, I think I put on Facebook quite a while ago. Actually, it came up as a memory the other day, so it must have been a year ago. I was at work and I had just an obscene amount of leopard print on as a joke, because I was winding up my boss basically, and I had a headband, scarf, my leopard print top, and also some printed my glasses. So anyway, I just really like animal prints, but fake animal prints. Obviously, my ethos on my love for animals. I would never wear real fur or anything like that, but I just like I think it's beautiful, and I think the natural beauty in some of the prints that you can get, mimicking real animals, is just gorgeous. So I don't know, I just like it. So I wear it a lot. Okay, so I've gone away for a while and come back and had a little bit more interest and some more emails in. So one of it is from Josh, who just wanted me to... So Josh's question actually comes from Josh's girlfriend, which is, how long a week do I spend doing my nails? Lots of fascination about the nails. And I probably need to explain a couple of things here. Is that I have very, very strong nails. I always have done. They've always grown really nicely. But they're also super strong, and I know it's very unusual for a scrapper to have nice nails. But also, scrapping's my hobby. I do have a day job as well, so I don't spend 24/7 scrapping. Well, no one does, but you know what I mean. But I use gel polish, and it's my own. I've got my own gel machine because I'm a mum, a very busy mum, and there's absolutely no way that I would go to a salon to have my nails done on the level that they require being done. So if I'm lucky, I only actually need to do them once a week. But quite often I'll get a little blip or something that just needs a little bit of touching up or something like that. So, it only takes about 20 minutes to do. It's about 2 minutes per coat. So I've got a base coat, 3 coats of the colour, and then a top coat. So I suppose with all the actual painting on, maybe 25, maximum 30 minutes. So it's really not as long as what it looks. Although my husband seems to think that I do my nails all the time. But no, not quite. So it's not as bad as it thinks. But also the added thing about the gels is the strength. Gel is very strong, and it just helps protect my nails while I'm scrapping. I have broken the odd one. I'm also someone who absolutely hates the feeling of cutting my nails. So typically what you'll see throughout the videos is that they get longer and longer and longer and longer. And then it gets to the point where I know that I really must cut them, because something will break, and it will break it low down if they're really long. So I have to, and you can see now, in the video, my nails are poking through my gloves. Well, that's because, gloves don't last me long at all. I can get a new pair of gloves because I've got these long nails. They just constantly put pressure on the end. And so eventually those bad boys are going to poke through. and it's fine. You know, they're semi-protected, the gloves. Yeah. So Mike Dando was lovely recently and saw the nails poking through and sent me some new gloves. But they're a bit thicker, those ones. They're the ones that I now use for the outside stuff because they're really thermal and yummy. So yeah, that's the nails. And the next one, let me just get it back up again. Okay, so this is another person who wishes to remain anonymous, but what they've said is that you talk a lot about your autistic daughter. It's really nice that we can hear her sometimes in your videos. Could you tell us a little bit about how you discovered that she was autistic and what age that was, and how do you manage to keep up working, family life? So basically, this one, quite a few people actually have spoken to me, either in email or on my live chats or on other people's panels actually, and after panel time as well, you know, when it's not live. Lots and lots of discussions about autism and my family. So yes, it's most people know that I have an autistic daughter, and you know her name because Grandpa Kevin did a lovely little Father Christmas thing for her last year, which was lovely. So normally I keep my kids' names out of YouTube, but as we're fairly anonymous and no one knows where we are and stuff, yeah, so her name is Frida. And so it's I'm in a quite unusual position really, because I actually worked specialising in autism before I had my children. Frida's my second child. I have an older son and then Frida and then a younger daughter. And quite early on, it was quite obvious that there were some differences in Frida's development.
Yeah, I'm tidy.
You can hear her. She's quite often
done.
asking me to get out the shed. Like, oh, time's up now, mummy. Kind of, when are you coming in and stuff like that. Anyway, so quite early on, she didn't hit her milestone, so that's something to look out for. It was things like she did everything, so walking. Well, sitting up, crawling, walking. Foods from the beginning was an issue for her, either sensory-wise or taste. At that young age, you can't tell. But so she stayed on pureed food a lot longer. But she's very physically able and full of character, but her speech and communication is quite low. She can piece things together, but like the deeper level of speech is a bit tricky. So the more understanding and explaining things. But so I should refer back to the question. Yeah. So we knew she wasn't hitting her milestones, and so we spoke with the health visitors and things. And I was probably a bit more aware because of my background, although I work with teenagers with autism. And so we just started the referral process, and actually, rather unusually for a girl, she was actually diagnosed at the age of 4, which is very young because girls are very good at masking autism. Just pause it for a little bit of chat I was having on the video with Frida there. Yeah, so we did actually have a diagnosis from a really young age. But as for how I fit everything in, I'm not going to lie, it can be very tricky sometimes. And, you know, I work, I've got children. Some of you know I've got extra children staying with us at the moment for some personal things that are going on. So we've actually got 5 children at the moment. 3 years old, 2 7-year-olds, Frida, who is 10, and my son, who's 11. So yeah, it's very busy. It's very busy, but the thing is, when you love what you're doing, you just, you know, you can find time for it. And I think the thing is that there is no such thing as a normal stereotypical like family. So you adjust to whatever your circumstances are, and you do what you can do. And, you know, my daughter has actually changed me for the better. It can only be for the better, because she has taught me the real innate love and joy that you can have for things. And she is just the most wonderful, beautiful, expressive person. Yes, she has meltdowns, of course, but we all do in some way or another. But we're just very good at controlling that. And actually, you know, she lets that out when she needs to. And somebody once said to me, if you could take away her autism, would you? And my answer was, to their amazement, absolutely not. And excuse me, given the impact that sometimes it has, they couldn't understand why. And so I explained to them pretty in good detail that actually she is so autistic that if I took away the autism, I wouldn't have my daughter anymore. You know, that is who she is, and I would never take that away. What I would do is I would give her the ability to communicate more, to relieve some of her frustration and stress that she gets, to enable her to just be happier, basically. But no, gosh, no, I would never take away her autism. It's like saying there's something wrong with it. There isn't, absolutely isn't. Her brain, it just simply works differently to ours. And in a lot of respects, you know, we could all do being a little bit more autistic, because we waste a lot of time doing stuff we don't want to do because we think we should be doing it in social blah, 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 blah. Actually, what needs to happen is that there needs to be a better mix in our world, in this neurotypical world, but between everybody. And actually, I think instead of looking at it that there's something wrong with autism, I think it should be looked at that there's something wrong with neurotypical, and actually there needs to find this balance in between. And I think actually, wow, what a wonderful world that would be, because it would take away a lot of the nonsense, you know, it really would. But yeah, absolutely not. So that's a little bit about, and of course, you know, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. You cannot, the spectrum is so huge. And it's the same with anybody, any personality. Anyone can have something, but two people who have that thing are not going to be the same. And that is even more so with autism. Don't just think you know all about autism because you've got one experience. I've only got limited experience. I've got my experience and our experience as a family and my experience through work. But everybody is different. And, you know, differences should, and I have always believed it, should be celebrated. And we just need to be in as inclusive a society as possible. And my life's work really has been, you know, working with that. And I'm doing it for my daughter, and I'm doing it in my job, is that our whole ethos at work is setting our young students up for life outside school age, and just giving them the skills to, you know, function in the world, and to be their wonderful selves while doing that. And, you know, that's what it's all about. So I have gone on a little bit, probably more than what that question was asking, but I'm passionate about it, and that's my life, and that's our life, and that's our family life, and as it is for millions of others as well. So thank you for your question. And I do know that you're in a similar situation to me. So I would be interested if you want to email me back about how it was for you in the beginning, and sort of ages and things. But okay, anyway, let's go to some more of the scrappy side. And if I get any more questions later, I'll put them in, do some more rabbiting on further on in the video here. So
Oh, there is a bit more in there. Okay. What have we got there? Woo! Oh, damn. Right. So that's those little fingers there are non-magnetic. And then in here, we've actually got some more little tiny coppery bits. Now, it's so typical, I've been making things to send out to people. And I've been sculpting things out of copper wire indoors with my long nose pliers. So I don't have those to hand, but this did the trick. So, yeah. It can be quite hard to tell what something is sometimes. So the little tips on those are magnetic. Yeah, won't bother with those. Yeah, so I wouldn't bother with these. So that I'll just chuck into... I'll take that off though. Low grade. Just like that. Now, with a board like this, all I'm going to bother doing, probably, you've got a lot of steel on here. None of these are brass or aluminium. So, I'm probably actually going to take this skull corner BGA off. Because, to me, there's more value in chucking the rest of this board in and then building up these to sell by the kilogram separately. So yeah, all I'm going to do is get that one off, and some of you would have seen me do this before. Quick and easy, and it is definitely worth it, to me anyway, because gold corner BGAs, let me just put the V block up there. Gold, I've shown you in one of my videos before on how I depopulate before I had a board buyer. 120 pounds a kilogram on eBay. So for me, it's worth just cherry picking. If there's more than one, it's worth leaving some on a board to get higher grade for the board. But on a board like this, I'm not going to bother removing this stuff with the time. So now I'll chuck that in with all the components on, because I actually get them quite a lot from the boxes and stuff. Sky boxes, routers, you know, and what have you. So we'll see. Oh yeah, I remember this. Look at that. Beautiful relay in there. I really like the see-through element on that. It's very, very nice. So of course half of it stayed on the board. But these are the ends with the contacts on, so that's what I wanted. Just going to slide out of there. I'm just going to leave it in there for now. And that I'm going to put with smalls to process later. And then of course it's just a case of getting your other bits off. Alright, then you've got a busy one. A busy one. So something like this, I'm going to take this off. And I'm probably not going to bother to get into that. That can probably go in with motors and transformers. But I will have to take the plate off. Now, have to make a decision on that, whether it's worth the time of getting in there. Might be interesting to see. Not sure though. Okay, so you've got one of these transistors. Now this is old, so this is actually a transistor that I would get into, because these are the type that you can get some nice aluminium, maybe even some gold or silver from the inside. So I'd give a little quarter turn and get those off. Now, looks like it's on an aluminium heatsink plate anyway. There's one, there's the other. Typically pasted on as well. That one's a bit of a strange one, actually. Let's just see if we can encourage it. Whoa! We encouraged it. Okay. So, there we have it. You can see that's aluminium. And so is this. It adds up. So that I will put into the further processing. Now, as for the rest of it, it's just actually a case of removing all of these. Now, the cord, the wire from the flyback transformer isn't really suitable to go in anything other than the shred, because it's like a coax type stuff, but it's got this sort of resin coat inside, and not often copper either. So for me, I'm not gonna mug off the scrapyard by putting that in VIR even. That'll go just into the shred bag. I'll always inspect it though, obviously, because if it's better than that, but that is typically what is in there. So I just do the right thing and I put it in the right place. I'm sure you get people that, you know, are going to be happy to shove that in with the VIR. But at the end of the day, I don't want that reputation with my scrapyard. You know, I've got a good relationship with the scrapyard, so if they were ever happy to take that, then fine. So this is a nice old board. Oh, look at the size of these. Now they are some resistors. I would almost be tempted to take these just because they're so old, just to have a little look to see if there's any nice bonding wires in there. But what I really like on this board is these dipped I crushed that one, but yeah, these are nice. So anything unusual like that, because it's not always about the monetary value for me, is it? Sometimes it's the creative value, you know. Sometimes I can actually do creative things with some of these components just because they look nice. It's nice for them to live on in some art. So yeah, we go like that. So then, yeah, basically just the odd bit of cherry picking, but the cherry picking really adds up quickly. So you'll notice I'm not unscrewing because I'm taking all these MOSFETs are on a little aluminium heatsink, so that I'll just do later when I want to break that down further. Let's just have a look. It doesn't look like a brass one, and it's not. Sad but true. Now, it's all steel. So you've got a nice bit of ferrite on the. You could smash that off just to add it, but it's more value on there for me. So another green MOSFET down there. Now those ones might not be quite so quick and easy to get off, in which case I'll probably leave them. Get that off and take that off as well. All right. what's on there. Oh no, wait, they're not. Yeah, they are. So I don't want to remove too much off the board. And it's going in. Same with this one. Some red copper on there. This is the one that had all of these beautiful capacitors on here. With the different colours. Referring to what strength, current, input and output, etc. So yeah, I want those. I want them because they're beautiful, not necessarily because they're worth loads of money. Because for me, some of this stuff, it's in the beauty, as you know. So there's a small flyback transformer there. They're not worth getting into. I think I've said before, but honestly, they're really not worth the time or the effort. So let's move on to some more interesting things. Now, isn't that an interesting little handful of ceramic capacitors? Pretty. Yeah. Nice. So I got another question from Barry West, just on the post there, so everyone's probably seen it. He doesn't do the actual scrap chat at the time, but he watches back later. So thank you, Barry. You're such a great supporter. I really, really appreciate you. And you've just asked, Barry's just asked, I was wondering if I'm doing better health-wise, and wished us Merry Christmas, which is lovely. So yes, there's still a little tiny remnants of a cough there, but much, much better. Who knows what that virus was, but it was a rotter that we had, I have to say. But, and for a good couple of weeks, we were very poorly. Did a couple of COVID PCRs and they were all negative, so it wasn't that, much to our disbelief, because I haven't felt like that before. But anyway, yes, much, much better. Antibiotics have nearly finished now, and it's pretty much sorted out. So yes, thank goodness that we haven't got that lurg in the house for Christmas. Got another question from somebody called William, and the question is, if I was to consider myself 20 years ago, would I have thought that I would now be a scrapper? Wow, that's a really good question. What I'm just trying to let me think. Firstly, how old I was 20 years ago. So I was 16. So no, at 16, what was I doing? I was spending a lot of time going around boot fairs. So I definitely would have seen myself as some sort of treasure hunter for sure, because I absolutely adored going around boot fairs, flea markets, charity shop, thrift stores, op shops, wherever you are, as to whatever they're called where you are. But I've always loved doing that. But no, I wouldn't have had a concept of actual scrapping back then, to be honest. Yeah, at that age, I don't think I really had much of a concept of what I was going to do at all. I think I just decided that I was going to go down the psychology route. So at that age, I probably thought I was going to be a psychologist and a cognitive behavioural therapist, which I did go into. But you know, your actual to what actually happens when you're an adult is very different, especially as, you know, a mum. So I actually had my son during my masters, so I then had to let that go, and I did come back and do some other things
afterwards, but I didn't quite go down the route. My plans changed once I became a mum, and the time that I was willing to put into a career as to family life, and family life won, obviously. So no is the honest answer. I wouldn't have seen myself that I would have been a scrapper, but I definitely would have seen myself being still very much interested in some form of recycling or treasure hunting, but not to the degree or in the way that I'm doing it. And I certainly wouldn't have thought I'd have a YouTube channel, because as a child I was really confident, but then as a teenager that slipped a bit, and I definitely wouldn't have thought that I would be doing with this and connecting with people the way I am, which obviously I love. So yeah, thanks. Thank you, William. That was a great question. So these what I've just picked off are the jumpers that you get on the boards on the little gold pins to protect them, aren't being used, but inside there's gold plating in there as well. Just letting those add up nicely. Okay, well, I've come to the end of this week's Scrap Chats. 1 year of Scrap Chats. So thank you so much for all your support and for your questions and any more questions that come in, because I didn't give a lot of notice. I might do this again next week and just do some answering. Look at these lovely MOSFETs. Probably hear Frida in the background right now of this voiceover, but sorry about that. But it is what it is. So I just want to wish you all a happy Christmas. I know lots of people have things that make it not a happy time, and for those I wish you strength, and I wish you health, strength and happiness for 2022. And I just want to thank every one of you for actually watching my videos and supporting, and off of YouTube as well, the friendship and community and everything. It's lovely. So happy holidays for those who don't actually celebrate Christmas. Merry Christmas to those of you who do. I love you all genuinely, and thank you, and stay kind to each other. The world will be a better place. All right, take care. See you in the next one. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.